We're back to the Nano Rainbow shirt. You guys know what this video is about. Welcome to my channel. My name is Esther Marie Andujar. I am a Puerto Rican writer aspiring to be a hybrid author. And today is the second video number 2 in the Preptober series and how I go about prepping. Um, Today, we are talking about the Pinterest board and the music playlist and how I spend a ridiculous amount of time on them, but it's part of my process. So let's go and record my laptop. Let's go to the screen recording section of this video.
Hello, welcome to my Pinterest. Uh, this is my account. I have a lot of Pinterest board. Um, and this is one of the beginning parts when I start brainstorming and I start like getting into that nitty-gritty and visualizing things and kind of like putting down the vibe. Uh this is where I like go and try to visualize what I will eventually start creating a outline and all that sort of awesome thing. I'm not gonna scroll through all of the Pinterest boards that I have because some of these things are a lot of them are just ideas that I don't know when I'm gonna get to them, and there's a few things that are for my pen names, so I'm not exactly sure. I actually started. You can see uh here with the guy in the black t-shirt, it says for future boards, because sometimes I'm just like perusing Pinterest and see if anything catches my eye for one of my boards, because I consistently adding to my Pinterest board whether I am actively working on a project or not. But sometimes I see things that may come in handy for an idea that I'm not ready to start a Pinterest board, a kind of like a aesthetic mood board. So I recently started doing a for future boards. I do have some sort of similar thing for my music for playlists. I have a kind of like listen later. So I can either add it to a playlist or either I like it enough that I will just heart it and then it will leave in my like songs, or I'll just remove from that listen later and because just I'm not vibing with that song. So I'm doing the same thing now with pins on Pinterest. If I vibe with it, but I'm not sure for which project, or I may just don't have a project at this moment that pin belongs, but I know in like instinctively I know I might want this eventually in the future. It's now living on the future board. But I'm gonna show you 3 Pinterest boards, and these are the 3 ideas that I am thinking about. I used to for the longest time, you probably heard me say that I will use NaNoWriMo to work on my holidays full length. But the holiday romance book that I had intentions on working this year, that book is not going to come out until 2025. So I have no business stressing over writing a book that is not like I'm not gonna worry about it half of 2024. So I decided let's leave that for next year, whether is to draft it on NaNoWriMo 2024 or April or July, whichever I decide. Um, because I have other things that are more uh, higher in the priority. Also, after you guys know, I'm currently revising editing the holiday romance, which is slotted to be published on 2024 under its pen name. Um, that's the priority. I have no business writing another one when I'm still revising and editing the first one. Also, I've been itching to get into some fantasy of any like epic, paranormal, sci-fi fantasy, any. And also every time I like talk to Nia or Laura, and it's just like, uh, I just want to work on something that is not contemporary because I have a lot of contemporaries on my plate. So, first idea that I am thinking, it's it has a title right now. I don't want to say it in case it changes because these three ideas I am thinking this most likely will be for Trapbot. So it will be under my name, under Esther Marie. So it's gonna take a longer path. Hence why I am not so like close up with information. But this is a Taino mythology or Taino deities inspire fantasy YA. This is about four teenagers who have to come into their godlike powers while mourning the death of a parent, while having to shoulder the responsibility of saving their island before their entire race gets wipes out and they get extinct. So a lot of this is pictures of people that kind of like look or have the vibe that I'm imagining for the characters. A lot of like magic related pictures, some pictures of Puerto Rico that kind of like gives the vibe of how this island looks like. Some clothing related to some of the characters, and kind of like possible uniform for them as the relics, because that's kind of like the position they have to get into when they get into this godlike powers. Um, so that's kind of like the first idea. And then the second is what I've been calling, this doesn't have a name, it's just two comps. The Craft meets Rebelde. Rebelde is a Hispanic soap opera. Original is a Argentinian, and but the one that I'm using is the Mexican cover, like the one they did in Mexico. Uh it's just like I technically grew up with watching Rebelde, and it's just I love the dynamics. I love how messy it is. I love how they talk about how much like power and money and politic influences uh the consequences of the things these teenagers do. And also I wanted to be like, but how about if they have magic like the craft, and they are kind of like in this um protagonists are trying to get some of the things that the girls in the craft wanted. Both of them, the movie and the soap opera, are in private schools, so it has a little bit of dark academia in it. But it's kind of like I was like, dark academia, but make it Hispanic. So it's not exactly gonna look like a old brick building, but it's gonna have a lot of like secret society, a lot of society status, money, power, very conceited teens, messy drama. Like it sounds that I'm very excited because it's two things that I really, really enjoy, which is The Craft. I really one of my favorite movies. And also Rebelde is just like, oh. Also, just so you know, there is a Brazilian version of Rebelde, and Netflix did a kind of like a version of it too, with like a new generation. I haven't seen it. When I saw kind of like the teasers, it did not look good. It did not sound well. So again, I am using the Mexican one with this characters as kind of like inspiration. And yes, it doesn't look that way. They changed the hair kind of like halfway through the seasons. But yes, I'm gonna do the classic red hair, blonde hair, black hair situation because it does play into some of the society commentary and things. So the third idea that I've been toying with, it doesn't have a title. It is not a sci-fi. It's more like a sci-fi fantasy. It right now it's just Magic Circus sci-fi, and the idea is, what if Magic Circus in space, but it's not tricks and illusions. It's actual people with powers, like what you're seeing in this um circus in space is people who actually have powers. So the board is not super long. I still have to add, this has been a little bit on the very back burner, but since I've been like itching to get into some fantasy and kind of like paranormal kind of thing, I was like, ooh, this this idea doesn't have a playlist, which if this get chosen, this is gonna be really fun to deal with. Also, Craft Meets Rebelde doesn't have a playlist either. This one does have. I already started a playlist. Because I there's a lot of things that I have already think and thought about this. But just to give you an idea, so that's kind of like what I do with Pinterest. Once I'm a little bit more solid and I start like seeing what I have in my head, that I can actually go in Pinterest and search for it, then I can start making a a board. And you see, like, I can just like keep scrolling and adding things. And yes, I do have a board for an hyphen because I am that kind of person. So let's get into my Spotify. So this is gonna be very interesting. Mm, I'm gonna, I have a ridiculous amount of uh playlist. Not only I have liked songs, which are currently at 725 songs, I have a ridiculous amount of playlist. And those are playlists that I have kept because there are years that I do monthly playlists, and once the year is done, I gather all those playlists in a single one for the year and then I delete the monthly ones. So, playlists that I have created, I'm probably close or past 300 playlists. I live in Spotify. I think Spotify and probably YouTube are the two sites that I spend the most time in. Um, so let's see. Let's see. So a lot of you guys know that I do Marina. Marina has it's now a public playlist because I have shared it with my members a while ago, and I eventually switched it to a public playlist so people can listen to it. Currently has 56 songs, but I do keep adding as I work, as I keep working on the story, I keep adding music. As you can tell, a lot of it is um dark rock music. It's a lot of Tommy Prophet. There's a lot of where is it? Hidden Citizens. It's very dramatic. It's very moody. It's it's Marina, friends. It's Marina. Also, let's see. Do I have it? Where is it? So, this is the playlist for the one of the Pinterest board that I have shown you. I have started it. It's very short, as you can see. It's 27 songs. I will keep adding. It's a lot of instrumentals, a lot of like kind of like epic sounding music. Um, so you can kind of like get the vibe I'm going with. Let me see which other playlist I can show you. Also, if I haven't touched a playlist, like listen to it or add any music, it just keep getting bumped down. So sometimes I have to like scroll to find things. So here is Stephania's book. Um, it's pretty much K-pop because there's a few English songs, but most of it is just K-pop because that's what she listens to. Um, let's see. I also have like songs for specific things. For example, when I have to write smexy scenes, spicy scenes. Um, I have a specific playlist for that, and it has a lot of very explicit, grungy, um, very heavy on the R&B. Half of the soundtrack of Magic Mike XXL is here, so you guys can imagine how it's going. Um, so yeah, that's what I do. What I was going to mention, as I now do with Pinterest, I do have a listen later playlist, and I just whenever I am listening other playlists, like when I am on the search section and I am perusing the different genres or the made for me thing, then if I hear a song that I'm like, just that, I immediately put it on the listen later playlist. It's currently not long, but every so often I just come and give it a listen and decide if it's gonna get a heart, so it's gonna end on the listen and on the like song playlist, or it might get transferred to one of these gazillion playlists that I have. Um, and I started doing this. I don't remember when I started this playlist. I will say maybe 1 or 2 months ago, and then like 2 weeks ago, I did the for later for future board on my Pinterest. So I do spend a lot of time here. Like, I can give you an idea of, for example, where are you? The holiday romance. It's not only is a lot of Christmas songs, it's a lot of love songs. So a lot of the times I go to the search and go into either I may go into pop music, I may go into R&B, or I may go into mood and kind of like find what kind of mood I trying to find music. Maybe I just literally go and search love and just look at all the playlists that are out there and start listening to some songs in all of the playlists other people have created. And sometimes I find things that I put directly on the playlist, and sometimes the songs will end up on my listen later because I like the song, but I don't like it for that specific project, but it might work for another one. So that's how I go, and this is constantly. Like, I have the app on my phone. I have it on my phone, as you can see, and I sometimes I'm not I'm just doing this, and if I am driving and I hear a song, I if I'm driving at that moment, I quickly check at least the title, so then I can go into the playlist and look for it later. I'll just remember. I just keep saying the title over and over so I can remember. But if I'm close to stopping or I'm at a stop, I quickly go, and if I know where I want it, I'll just put it on the playlist. If I'm not sure, then I'll just put it on the listen later. And this is something that I do constantly. Uh like I think I mentioned somewhere before. Um my Pinterest board and my playlist, big on the playlist. I keep working on it and adding music all the way I'm working on the story. It'll stop when the story is done. Like, I know once Marina is done, completed, I will probably very rarely touch on that playlist unless I go back and kind of like write a bonus scene for my members. And I'll play the songs on the playlist and I may add something. May or may not. It's but it usually stop getting work once I stop doing, like, let me give you like a very specific example. I do this too for my fan fiction when I work on fan fiction. um See, I did a skateboard ballet um story for fan fiction. If you kind of know what pair and what fandom this is, it good for you. Don't say it. Let's just not put it out there. I don't mind saying that I write fan fiction. I am, and most people know that the fan fiction that I write is K-pop, in the K-pop realm. But let's just not get too specific. So the prompt, because it was based on a prompt, was the Skater Boy music, the lyrics of Avril Lavigne. So I started with that. I knew one character was a skater, the other one was doing ballet, and then I just started building the playlist. And I literally haven't opened this playlist and listened to it since I finished this story. And I'm pretty sure I finished this probably 1 or 2 years ago, I will say. So, yeah. Well, a year. It says that I started adding on January 14 of 2021. Last song that I added was July 28, 2021. And most likely after that, I did not touch this playlist at all because the story is done. It got edited, it got published in the fanfic Smosphere, and that's it. It has not been touched at all, and you can kind of tell how it's gonna keep getting very and very as I work on other things and the playlist get bump as I use them and add them and kind of situation. So that's how I do. I don't retire playlist for stories that I have written. I do retire my monthly because I compile them on a year one, but I don't get rid of work in progress playlists. Uh, Once they are already done, I don't, because you never know when you're working on a project that has a similar vibe, and you're like, ooh, let me look at that playlist and let me see which songs I can kind of like reuse, because that's the beauty of music. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like what I do, how I go about my Pinterest board and my playlist. I do spend a lot of time, but you guys know I'm all about. I'm pretty big on music. I love music. I love music a lot, as much as I like writing. So there's that.
So there you have it, friends. That's how I go about building a Pinterest board and my music playlist. They are the two tools that I go back while I am outlining, while I'm drafting, while I'm revising, while I'm editing. I keep going back to those two things throughout the entire life of the work in progress. So it's very, those two things are very, very important for me. The biggest is the playlist. As you guys may or may not know, I'll put the link, I'll put the video on the card. Music is the way that I pretty much Pavlov myself into working on multiple projects at the same time. That's how I help my brain do the switching between projects by listening to the playlist. So it makes sense that I spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months on it. So hopefully you got a little bit of a glimpse of my Pinterest boards in my playlist. I did show you three boards, and I only show you a playlist related to one of those boards because, like I said, the other twos don't have a playlist at this moment. And this is going to be the fun part. Now you guys can get me your both on which story you would like me to choose for NaNoWriMo. Um, I will share here which was the notebook that got picked between the votes on the comments and the votes on Instagram. You guys choose the big hardcover owl notebook. So this is gonna be the notebook that I will be working uh, on the project for NaNoWriMo. This is where we're gonna be at for the third video. So yeah, get on the voting of the project ASAP so I can actually start using the notebook while I'm recording for the next topic, which is what I call the brain dump scenes. I did actually do a solo video on this because this is, uh, to some people, it feels redundant, but it works for me. It's a mix of brainstorming and a scene list kind of thing. But you can kind of like have a glimpse of what I'm talking about in this video that I did a while ago about having this is like the step that I on the outlining phase that I don't skip. And that will be our third Preptober video. So if you want to know more and you actually want to see it in action, tune in for that. Also, vote on which story you would like me to work. Do you want me to work on the fantasy story inspired by Taino gods and teenagers getting godlike powers and dealing with grief and the responsibility of saving their entire island? Or do you want me to work on the craft meets rebelde, um, kind of like dark academia, but make it Hispanic, and it's teenagers and messy power dynamics, and it's probably going to be very angsty and very dramatic, and it's going to be people with a lot of gray in it, very morally ambiguous kind of situation? Or do you want me to work on the magic circus sci-fi fantasy story, which is pretty much a magic circus on space, but the people doing all of the tricks actually have magic? So cast your votes on the comments, or probably I will do a community post that you can vote there. And I will do a poll for 24 hours on Instagram too, like I did with the notebook. So, yes, friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for voting for the notebook, and thank you, Advice, for casting your vote on the story. We shall see if I agree with your vote. um, so, yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.